warm welcome to everyone, and such a pleasure to be here and discussing this book, In Search of Truth, Finding Solutions to Life's Riddles. So, Sarah, I don't know if you want to spotlight Dr. Prashant. That's it. So, and you may want to spotlight that. That seems like a good way forward. So I just wanted to start with an experience. And one thing about being involved in a book launch is that you have to make time to read the book. And so over the last little while, I have been finding little moments to read the book. And I just wanted to share one experience, because in this book, it talks about many things, and I don't know if in an hour we can do the book justice, but we'll give it a go. But it talks about the experiencer and the experience. And yesterday was visiting an aunt, and had to go get some clothing for her, and the nearest place to get it from where she's staying in Streatham is in Croydon, which is a bit of a bus ride. So there's 2 buses that you can get on, which I found out later. One takes about 20 minutes to get there. The other one goes all around the houses and takes about 50 minutes. So in the beginning, and someone said it takes about 20 minutes to get there. So in the beginning, I got on the bus that goes all around the houses, literally all around the residential areas. But because I had been reading about the experiencer and the experience, it was so helpful, because the 20 minutes came and went, which was the expected time of arrival. And it kept going, and it kept going, and it kept going. But there was such a difference, because there's an experience going on, but as the experiencer, there was a choice over what I wanted to experience. So under probably other situations, there may have been thoughts like, when's this journey going to finish, and how long is it going to take? It's going to, oh my gosh, if it's going to take me this long to get back, by the time I get home, it's nightfall. But there wasn't anything of that, because there was suddenly a big choice, and that was just to be the experiencer and taking care of the experience. So just leading that is as an introduction, because I think in this book there is many aspects to really practice and understand very deeply that will help us in our life. So I wanted to start, and the book goes through very logical sequence, and it starts off with a message from nature. And it talks about that nature always wants to sustain to a higher order. And I wondered if Dr. Prashant would like to just introduce that as a starting point, because I think that's a fundamental message that the rest of the book takes up in all sorts of ways.
Yes, and hello, Margaret, and hello to Sarah, and hello, everyone. Greatly appreciate you taking part. Just giving you a little bit of personal background to this, these ideas put together, and we gave it name afterwards. Think of the title afterwards. Personally, I see myself as a difficult student. So when I first come across these ideas, I was not agreeing with any of these ideas. And so I had to process how I can, I somehow deep inside, I knew it is all true, but I couldn't understand whatever personal background and my conditioning. There was huge resistance to everything, and so I had to find out, the rational way to understand every aspect. And I feel there will be many others in the world who might be of a similar kind. We have resistance to understand some spiritual ideas, and who may need that process of, sorting out every aspect, some rationalism and with some reason. There are many I also know who are gifted, who can take a jump, who have intuition and some kind of insight, natural insight, and they get a bit like jump start, and that is a different. I also know there are many more of that kind. So when you are looking for rational understanding, nature is obvious, the starting position. What is the message from nature? We all are within this, broader term, nature. Even science, what science is doing, just trying to understand the patterns that are already there in nature. Science cannot create anything different. And in this nature, we see that there are certain very clear patterns, and like one thing we have mentioned and what Margaret is referring to, we said nature is our friend. And the simple evidence to this is we are alive. After all these years, we are alive. It is like an absolute wonder. When you see a baby being born, whenever each time, it is during my student days, you deliver a baby, and you saw a wonder, because from the moment the ovum is formed, and from there for the baby, to be born, million things can go wrong. It is like a extraordinary thing, and 99% of the times, everything is right in this baby. Not just it is alive, but eyes are functioning, ears are functioning, and then it continues on. We create society and create cities. So nature is absolutely our friend. This is our starting position in a premise. And sometime in that book, we have also mentioned, if I cut a finger, the same moment, it is not even milliseconds later, same moment, mechanism starts to heal it. Very, very complex. Even to form a clot, it is very complex. There are 9 steps before the clot is formed, and different right chemicals are required. Nature has got a most efficient system of stopping bleeding, formation of the new skin, bring the right kind of phagocytes to fend off, some bacteria, and this is all happening automatically. It is nature's mechanism. Nature wants to protect me. Nature wants to protect animals. Nature wants to protect bacteria also. So if you invent antibiotic, nature helps bacteria to produce enzyme to deal with that antibiotic. So all this is going on. Nature is our friend. And within that context, we said, and still people die, human beings die. So nature has got a higher positioning. Nature wants to save a human race compared to the individual human being. And this is seen, especially with cases of sickle cell anemia. Just an example. Those who have got sickle cell anemia, they die early, but the background to this is in place, like in a certain parts of Africa, there were such mosquitoes, and malaria was so rampant that people would die of malaria, and the society could have been wiped off. But within that community, the sickle cell anemia developed, and those who have got sickle cell anemia, they don't get malaria. They survive malaria, but they themselves die early. But the race survives, race continues. So this is like nature's mechanism to keep this, race, the survival of the species, and for it has to, give up on some things to get a higher aim achieved. I hope what Margaret was asking, I'm clear on this.
Yes, and also the phenomenon, because you're from a medical background, maybe the wonder of it is clearer to many of us who probably take it for granted. And that's another thing that happens. We take things for granted, isn't it? So there's many different aspects of the book that I'd like to highlight, really, and to take your input into. So maybe we could start with these two words, human being. And we all know these two words. And in the book, you talk a lot about the true identity rather than a false identity. And you talk about what happens when you're holding a true identity and what happens when you start to hold a false identity. So maybe to start this discussion, there's some words that you use when there's the true identity. You use the word that security. There's a feeling of security. And when you start to use a false identity, there's an insecurity, and lots happens from both of these things. I don't know if you would like to expand on that a bit more, what you mean by a true identity.
Sure. Yeah, what is extraordinary in our human race? One is the book, but just to let us understand what has happened to human beings. Human, once we realize that we are a race of invisible souls, if once that becomes very, very clear to you, you realize, okay, what has happened to these souls? They are dealing with the story. They're dealing with the theater performed. And
can I just interrupt that? Are you saying that what's happening on planet Earth is like a story or a theater?
Yes.
Okay, because that's quite a shift for people to understand, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
They see it as real life, like I'm in real life and I have my family and my work and my everything. That's like that's life, isn't it? Isn't that life?
Absolutely. So this is what that twist is. So what is, if we step back a little bit, just see a little objectively, as if we are seeing with a spiritual sight, with full and truth, then what you see is here is a race of invisible souls, and we use the word invisible players. They are invisible actors, and they are the ones who are traveling through this physical world. They are associated with this performance, drama, and a story. And that by itself, that's great. That is an extra gift, and it is a temporary performance. But as time has progressed, they are drawn into this story more and more and more, until the story has become their world, and they have completely lost sight of themselves completely, as if that is in blackout. Their world is in blackout, and they are drawn in the story. Even at that point, it's okay. But the next level is they identify with the role that they are associated with. And that is like grasping a false notion of the self. Like if someone leads a life in some false understanding, that is a complete loss. But if he has got false notion of his world, false notion even of the self, false notion of his, whom he thinks is his dear near ones and dear ones, is in the story and leading this life. This is like an extraordinary thing that has happened to human race.
Can I go back to the example of being on the bus? Because I've had access to the book, but also an understanding. So for this one, I can be on the bus and I'm aware that there's an experience going on, but because I have this choice, I know I'm the experiencer, or I know, but there's other people on the bus. There's children who've just come from school, and there's businessmen on their mobiles, and they're doing business deals. And so are you saying that everyone's got lost in their role? So the schoolboy is thinking he's the schoolboy, and the businessman is thinking he's the businessman, and they've completely forgotten that behind that there's something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So we all, it is like we are in this spell, just like what is shown in the film Matrix. There is a parallel there. You are acting in this, and then you forgot that is meant to be a temporary experience, but now you think that is your whole world, and completely forgotten your reality behind. And so we are using this word true identity, or smriti is the word used in that, for the truth and self, soul. When you are fully aware, you got a true notion of the self. Not just knowing it, like here, maybe the gathering who understand it, but then are we still in the false notion at a practical level, or are we in the truth? That is another effort that is required. Mm-hmm. To clarify this, we have used the word smriti and defined it in that book. The reason it doesn't remain as academic, within it is an answer to the human race. If I got a false notion even of my world and myself, and then trying to solve the problems of the world, I won't have a success there, because I myself am upside down. First, I may have to get myself the right way up. That's why attention and importance is given to that every level.
In the book, actually, you talked about smriti as awareness, and you talked about how the true I gives you that sense of security, and because the true I is understanding that in that phrase, human being, you are the being. You can call it the invisible being, the soul, but the natural qualities of the soul, peace, love, joy, all the good stuff that everyone's looking for is already kind of there in the soul. But also you mentioned that if you're not in that identity, and we can say another identity or false identity, it leads to suffering, leads to, in fact, you said it's the search for security. It kind of makes people desperate, and that desperate search for security leads to human suffering. So I don't know if you'd like to expand on that, how it leads to human suffering.
Sure. What happens is when this actor who is eternal, he himself is immortal, and his world is eternal. So he's everything about him is very, very secure. in a absolute way. So that is what he's used to. When he is now in such delusion, living in the matrix, but that world is unpredictable. Everything is going to end. So moment he comes in that delusion, he is in panic, subconscious panic, because everything is going to go. And no one likes to have that awareness that you are going to die and everything around you is going to go sometime sooner or later. And you have to address this. And he tries to address this in that confusion. Whole life, if you see the behaviors of everyone on this planet, they are all loving beings. And that is their absolute nature, love and happiness. But what are they doing? Their life is full of constant trying to, somehow, some selfish program going on. And it may take the form of greed, it may take the form of attachments, hoarding things. It can even take the form of violence. The whole unpleasant, actions that we see and unpleasant feelings that we have, its origin is just because of this original panic, of finding yourselves in a world that is unpredictable.
And many are sort of just trying to improve their life, isn't it? The whole life is about trying to improve the human experience. And what you're saying here is something completely different, isn't it? It's like we have to empower that being, that, the part of us that's eternal, that needs to be empowered, rather than just trying to keep improving, buy a few more things, or, do a little bit of workout. That's all. Most people are just trying to improve. They may not go into extremes of, but they're still caught up in just trying to improve their lives.
Yes, whatever they are doing, they are trying to address their security there. They want to survive, and they don't want to die, and they don't want to lose anything, and they don't want to lose anyone. So the mind is in that state. So true contentment, true happiness is not experienced in that. It's not possible. So for example, you can ask someone what he wants and give him 10 times more. What he is saying, give him 10 times more. See if he's content. He's not, because his deep insecurity is not addressed. And so he all the time feels he needs something else, and it's something else. And this is like an impossible demand at that level. Whole life is spending at that level. He doesn't accept death to start with. His own death of anyone else. He doesn't accept end. But the problem is not at that level. Problem is the confusion factor. If he was to wake up and see what is happening, he will realize that he is immortal to start with. His starting position is of contentment and happiness. Human beings, we are a race of angels. We are beings of full love, and everyone is lovely and loving, and this is what we will experience in ourselves if we were to step back, come into our, true awareness.
So the delusion is kind of robbing us of a true experience.
Yes, delusion is a nice word that you use. In this delusion, you don't know that there is a delusion. If someone is confused, he at least will say, I am confused and I want to understand. But in this delusion, he doesn't know that he's confused. He's leading a life, fully convinced that he is, and he knows everything. He is getting prizes, and they give each other titles and PhDs, and so they feel they are absolutely normal, but it is actually a state of serious confusion. When seen from the spiritual side, we have settled in a society that is of, that has lost something, that is not meant for just few people. Everyone need to be awake to this. That is truth of everyone.
And going back to the beginning of our discussion about that nature wants to always preserve, go to the higher order, but you also mentioned that in a way it's the same message of emotional suffering, that suffering comes as a messenger. And in the book you talk about something that maybe not everyone understands called Vinash forces, and you actually mentioned that they're tailor-made. So what is a Vinash force, and how does that whole operate, and how can we start to understand how to move into this true awareness, and when we're, say, crossing the line into an awareness is far away from that true awareness?
Yeah, thank you. And such a important subject for all of us. What that concept says is that nature gives us signals. If I sit in a wrong posture, nature will give me pain before I break my bones. First I get a signal. I meet sometimes patients who say, if I eat certain item, maybe it is not good for me. And why it is not good? She says, the moment I eat it, for some seconds I don't feel good. But then I eat other things and I'm okay afterwards. But maybe it is not good for me. Nature gives signal. The moment you put something in the mouth, leave aside you eat it, you put something in the mouth, try and listen to the body. And the body tells you, whether you should eat that further or not. And we have to develop, instead of blocking that signal from nature, we have to, encourage it. We all have got this sense. But if I ignore the early signal, nature gives a bigger message. And then person gets headache or migraines or irritable bowel. If he still ignores it, or maybe he goes to the doctor and doctor gives some, treatment, but the message is not understood, then nature will give him even more bigger message, and he will have bigger problems. This is the principle there. But same thing happens in a more complex way. There are emotional pains. Why there are emotional pains? A whole range of unpleasant emotions. That is also a signal, because I am in a wrong posture. All kinds of our attachments, and they are all wrong postures. Once one understands this bigger map and you realize that we are souls, and as souls we are temporarily here, we are guests, then you understand what is the right posture, what is the wrong posture. If I have completely ignored that side of it, then you are completely immersed in a wrong posture. If you go as a, say if I visit someone as a guest, and then I behave as if I'm not a guest, and I behave as if it is all mine, I will get a different reaction. One nice observation in life, Prashant has been guest lots of times to many countries, and every place my observation is different cultures, different countries, different religion, people are nice to guests. That is my observation. But imagine someone is a guest, and after one day he starts saying, "Don't enter this room, don't cross this boundary, don't touch this." And if he starts claiming things in that house, then the host will think, when are you going to go? Instead of being hospitable, it will change into hostility. Same is the principle Vinash for. In this world, we are guests. Stay as a guest, and nature wants to honor you at all levels. Nature wants to really give you the best. The moment I forget this message, start claiming things for whatever good reason. I might think this is, I got a right on this, and this one is mine, and this thing is mine. You start claiming and demanding and possessing and creating ego further. Then nature will come to give me a message with pain.
So are you saying we're not only a guest in this world, but maybe even a guest in this body?
Yeah, absolutely. At this level, physical level, at the invisible guest knows that he doesn't own a single atom here. And if he stays in that awareness, then he is totally in alignment with nature, and nature will honor him. He will be lucky. Nature honor means he will be lucky. Things will come to him, at many levels. The moment he crosses that line, then nature wants to punish him. He becomes unlucky.
And we know that's true because if you've ever been involved in clearing up a house after someone's passed on, they can't even take a paperclip with them. All these things that they valued are there. They can't take them. So we know that this is the truth, but to live in that consciousness is it's a very special consciousness, isn't it? And there's almost like rewards for that consciousness, and then maybe penalties if not in that consciousness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and it is good for all of us to experiment with it. This is like a encouragement from the book. Life still continues. When we are not letting go and go somewhere else, we don't have to go into the forest. You are still there, but stay there as a trustee. Like there is a body, there are people, and there are objects around, but come in that awareness that here the soul in the image of a tiny point of light. It is like an invisible traveler. He has got a journey, and he can't own anything or anyone here. Even for minutes to experiment what it is like. And you will already start inviting these forces of honor. You will continue to become lucky.
Honor and wonder.
If politicians, take this on, play with it, they can go right to the top.
Maybe you could send them a message in Egypt. There's some other actual, it kind of links to that. There's some different ways that you've given that we can really practice this. Another one, which very linked to this, guest, but trustee, really links into this. Can you just explain more the consciousness of someone who would be a trustee?
Yeah, that's nice. One is I'm a guest. Like I say right now here, I am using this computer device, and I am using the chair. I'm sitting here. I'm a guest here temporarily. Nothing here belongs to me. But this moment, I'm responsible. And I feel, I have not signed a contract with anyone, but I feel deep inside, I'm responsible to protect this room and this place here. If child comes and want to spoil things, I will prevent that happening. That's all. That natural instinct of a trustee, means that you feel you are responsible at that time, temporarily. When I leave this room, then I'm not a trustee of this. Right now I am trustee. In the same way, the soul who is conscious, he sees he's a trustee of this body, trustee of objects and people, family, house, job, whatever he's involved in, he's a trustee at that time. But he doesn't need to say, this is mine. That claim is not required. And he continues to remain a guest.
And leading on from that, actually, there's another aspect that we could practice that you mentioned in the book, and that's actor and role, because we have many roles we play and we want to play the roles well. So, what's your experience of using this actor and role consciousness?
Yes, sometimes take an example. There is an actor, Sean Connery, let us say, and acting as a James Bond, and James Bond does many things, amazing things. Saves 100 people, with one hand, and then goes to Casino Royale, but completely carefree. And okay, he has done those actions. The actor, Sean Connery, doesn't create arrogance. I saved 100 people. I got these amazing skills, qualities. He doesn't create arrogance. He's like a detached observer behind all this. If he was to create arrogance, people will say that is madness. That is a stunt in the film, and we are creating arrogance. Here it is the same. Ordinarily, we are deceived in this drama and very quickly create arrogance based on petty things. At least James Bond saved 100 people. We have not saved anyone, but create arrogance on small things. But when you understand there is a character here and behind there is the actor, there is strength, there is help. You are empowered not to be deceived and not to get into the trap of creating ego. Otherwise, you just tell someone, don't create ego, don't have ego. What can you do? He is finding himself in all these situations, and it goes straight in the department of ego. But in this, you stay with high self-respect. He is not losing anything. Like James Bond, and Sean Connery. Sean Connery is happy to be Sean Connery, and he doesn't want to claim that he saved 100 people. He has self-respect of being Sean Connery. Same happens here. And the invisible soul is, as we said before, is the invisible angel. He doesn't want to get some little bit more, respect based on the role of some kind. He's not empty. He is not beggar for some attention. He has a very high self-respect, and then he plays the part, and there are different things happening. He neither creates arrogance nor he takes offense. He remains free.
And is that another sign, if you've crossed the line, that you're either kind of exaggerate what you've done, or if someone insults what you've done, you'll feel it. You'll feel pain by it. Is that kind of a marker as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Leave aside something very simple. Say you literally find yourselves in a situation. I'm just saying, each one of us need to think of this. Say you find yourself where someone is drowning in the water, in the river, you jumped, you saved the child, and everyone is happy. And next day you see the child. Will you get the thought, I saved, will you get this thought? It is me, I did the action. Or will you be really free from that action? That is very simple. You are not telling others, you are not exaggerating. It is all literally happened. You are the only person who jumped in that cold water, saved the child, and you are the hero. But will there be entitlement, or will you be totally free from that action and felt that was in the story, that was in the drama, that was the script? Your self-respect is different. If that is maintained, then you are awake. You are conscious of the actor and the drama. If that action immediately goes into your idea of me, then it means I am already in the camp of confusion.
So there's the joy of saving a life, but you're not upset that it wasn't written up in the newspaper.
That's right, yes.
There's many other things. Time is flying by, actually, but I wondered if there's, and maybe we have to leave a little bit of intrigue so that others are wanting to read the book. But there are some very interesting things, and we're coming quite close to time now, but there is this whole topic on time, and you call it stills. And I think this is a very interesting way of looking at time that probably many of us don't see it like that. But it's almost like you have moments in time and you see them as a kind of still, like that moment in time is like a still over the whole world, and we're all operating in different aspects of this still. Would you like to share a little bit more, and in a way, how can that understanding practically help us in this highlighting the true I?
Sure. That model, completely different model, with like different paradigm, and if we understand this paradigm, I'm talking here in the science world, if they think that way, the whole science will have to change. It is literally like that. It is a different way of looking, understanding things, but it has got a strong base because it can explain more phenomena than the present model that science is using. Like, for example, whole area, what science calls paranormal, it just means they cannot explain it in the present model. Present science model, there is no explanation. So they just have created a box. They call it paranormal or psychic phenomena. And then whatever is not explained is put in that box. And that box is getting bigger and bigger. And so in this model, there are more explanations to the phenomena of paranormal, which means these are phenomena of nature in our world. And that there is an understanding behind this. What it is saying, that we are dealing with the film here. That is all. That model, the simple version of it is, and who are watching the film? Souls are watching the film. Souls are the audience. So right now, Prashant is talking here. That is also within the film. Prashant talking and this gathering and we are meeting here. This is what's happening in the film. And we, the invisible souls, are watching this film, different corners of it. This film is like a big screen, the other screen is, what, maybe 10 meters. Here, this whole physical 8 billion of us, we are all watching this film together, different corners of the same moment, same still. And once you understand this is, we are watching a film, then it has many other secrets. Film, it is, it has got a cut phenomena. It is the and then it explains how magic can happen, and a different poltergeist, this kind of phenomena. There are explanation for this, when you understand it's a film, and film is about cut phenomena. In film, in a very short time, like say if you are watching a film, it appears there is a 80-year-old man there on the screen. And how 80 years, his beard is so long, so he can't be, young, he's old man. But the film has started just half an hour ago. So duration of the film is different to what you watch on the screen. The different aspects, they become clearer. But your question, how does it help the real eye? The real eye is the observer watching this film. As we said, right now, here, this film is going on. Prashant is talking, and this is happening in the film. And the invisible eye is watching this film. An invisible eye is not part of the film. He's amused, the film is extra. His world is separate. It becomes easy. The practice of soul consciousness becomes very, very straightforward.
And maybe as a kind of final question, because we'd like to have a little bit of time for you to take us into some kind of experience of this. What, the more we move into this true I, if we were all, let's say if even if the ones here, joining this program, if we moved into that true I, what would we experience? If we were that all the time, what would we experience?
Sure. The world of ours is positive universe. Everyone's. This is the world of human beings, animals. The universe is immensely positive. We said at the beginning, nature is our friend, but on a scale that is going towards excellence. The natural state of each and every one, humans, animals, a natural state is of joy and love. All are very good. They are divine beings, all and always. So such is the reality already exists. All that is required is the players need to become conscious and see it. As if at the moment they are in the darkness. That reality is eternal reality. That remains always. But we are in darkness, we can't see it. All that is required is we wake up and see the greatness of everyone and their loveliness, their immortality. All are safe, all are good, and the world is good. So you will discover that side of, and every second we are experiencing it will make it easy for others to wake up and experience it. We were saying earlier, there we are 8 billion, just human souls. We are 8 billion of us. why are we into this confusion? When there is the real world, why are they in this story in such a confused way? And who is going to take them out of it? It will not happen with discussion or with books. It will not happen with that, but it will happen with us waking up. And one bird flies, second bird flies, the whole flock flies.
Thank you. Thank you. And I guess the last thing, and maybe this is kind of part of the experience, is there anyone who's already awake all the time?
And that is, each one need to, each one knows, but every minute you are creating this moment and this experience of awakening, it is making it easier for to come back in that space again. Mm. So I say, if the quality is paid attention to, in 1 minute, you bring that quality and congratulate yourselves for that. Every minute you are creating this, and it is a forward progress.
Mm. And that's a very lovely point, isn't it? It's not that to regret all the moments you're not in it, just celebrate the moments that you are in it. So it's like a huge encouragement, isn't it? That every moment or minute that you're awake, that's making it easier to stay awake the next time. It's, yeah.
That's nice, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure, would you like to kind of give us a sense of it? Would you like to share some thoughts and words, and we can get a sense of this experience of being in that true I?
Sure. And I wanted to check, Sarah, yes?
Yeah, just a couple of questions to clarify. When you were speaking about Vinash forces, is it the same as return of bad karma?
By using this term, Vinash forces, what it says, I am responsible for things that happen. It is literally like this. I sit in the wrong posture, I get pain, and then it forces me to change the posture. You can say it is the wrong karma, bad karma, sitting in a wrong posture, and then pain comes. What we are not saying here, it is not that someone is punishing for bad karma. It is the nature's message to help me, to protect the body that the pain comes. In the same way, to protect me at some level, these Vinash forces come. As long as we understand it, yes, it is like a return of bad karma.
Thank you. And just one more question. How to escape these Vinash forces when there is fear about one's own freedom or liberty?
Sure. We learn either through pain or through wisdom. Our emphasis is to change the posture before pain comes. The whole, the aim of the spiritual institution is to promote wisdom. So we understand the message and we learn and we change the posture. Here we are talking about inner posture, and that posture need to be changed, and then there is no reason for Vinash forces to come.
Thank you. That's all from here, yeah.
Thank you, Sarah, for the questions. So over to you, Prashant, for a final experience.
Sure. Here we understand and understand it is natural and it is simple. All that we are doing is use the best side, spiritual side, best intellect, and full light. So there is no room for confusion, even for a short time. And in that full light, we see the entire physical world as a story. Whether it is a theater, whether it's a film, but it's a story. So everything that happened today, it happened in a story. And what happened in the past, that's a story. There is nothing to complain in a story. There is nothing of concern in a story. No one creates attachments in a story. Even as was said, we are talking here. This is also happening in the story. This spiritual side helps us to see the world beyond the story. And beyond is silence. There is no noise of the story. We see this world in the image of a sky. World of complete stillness. World that is timeless. For the one with the sight, this is not just a meditation experience. This is the home. This is the home of the invisible traveler. He knows he belongs here. He knows this is the home of everyone. This is the real world. And this is the main world. It's not a story. He has the true notion of the self, and he's in the real world with the true family. He realizes the truth of everyone is immensely beautiful. All are immortal, all are safe, all have a home. They belong to this divine and noble family. Their world is of joy and love. Truth of everyone is good. as we continue on our journey, we remember this option of truth. Remember the beautiful truth of the invisible traveler. Thank you.
Thank you to Margaret and Prashant and to everyone for joining. Don't know if Margaret wanted to add anything final.
Just finally, really, there's a lot in the book, and we only, in a way, scratched the surface and created some intrigue, I think. And but yeah, I mean, in the book I've got lots of little markers to remind me of the important bits. So it's you know, and some of the chapters need to be read a few times for it to, in order to practice it. So yeah, so thank you very much for sharing, Dr. Prashant. Over to you, Sarah.
So some audio meditations which help, and it's helpful for like a workshop. Life is like a workshop, and this is some of the tools for that life workshop. So we put some links in the chat if you would like to look into the purchase. The Brahma Kumari's website is Inspired Stillness. I know they have plenty of copies. Amazon, just a few, but it's also available on Kindle. And also wanted to mention that we have retreats every 3 or 4 months online with Prashant and the team, and we'll just drop the information in the chat. There's also a promo video, and maybe those ideas might end up in a sequel, another book, but some of the concepts, but some new concepts that are have been recently reflected on from Raj Yoga. So thank you once again. Prashant, did you have anything to add?
Oh, and excellent. Thank you to Margaret, and very smooth and not giving me difficult time.
We'll create another follow-up for the difficult questions. So we'll see you next time. Thanks to everyone, and do feel free to get in touch if you have any questions or you want to connect, and have a great day. See you soon. Thank you.